7 million years ago, there were no cities, no roads, no phones, and no humans. The world was covered with vast forests, endless grasslands, towering mountains, and wild animals. Somewhere in Africa lived a group of ape-like creatures that spent most of their lives climbing trees, searching for food, and avoiding predators. They had no idea that one day their descendants would build skyscrapers, travel into space, and create the internet. Yet that is exactly where the story of humanity begins. Life was not easy for these early ancestors. Large predators roamed the land, food was not always available, and survival was a daily challenge. For millions of years, they lived much like many other animals. Then something began to change. The climate slowly shifted. Some forests began shrinking, and open grasslands started spreading across parts of Africa. As the environment changed, some of these ape-like creatures spent more time on the ground. Walking on two legs became increasingly useful. Standing upright allowed them to see farther across tall grass. They could spot food more easily and notice predators before it was too late. Most importantly, walking upright freed their hands. At first, this may not seem like a major event, but it was one of the most important moments in human history. Those free hands would eventually build civilizations. Over countless generations, early human ancestors became more comfortable walking upright. Their bodies slowly changed. Their legs became stronger. Their arms became slightly shorter. Their hands became more capable of manipulating objects. Then came another breakthrough. Around 2.5 million years ago, some early humans began making simple stone tools. These tools were crude by modern standards. They were little more than sharpened rocks, but they allowed humans to cut meat, process plants, and survive more effectively than before. For the first time, humans were not relying solely on their bodies. They were using technology. The individuals who used tools effectively often had advantages. They could gather food more efficiently and solve problems more successfully. As generations passed, another remarkable change occurred. Human brains slowly grew larger. Larger brains required enormous amounts of energy, but they also provided extraordinary benefits. Humans became better at planning, remembering, communicating, and adapting. They could think about the future instead of simply reacting to the present. And then humanity discovered something that would change everything: fire. At some point, early humans learned not only how to use fire, but how to control it. Fire brought warmth during cold nights. It provided protection from dangerous animals. It allowed people to gather together after sunset. And perhaps most importantly, it allowed food to be cooked. Cooked food is easier to digest and provides more usable energy. Many scientists believe that cooking helped support the growth of larger human brains. Around campfires, humans began spending more time together. They shared experiences, taught skills, and strengthened social bonds. Human communities became more organized. As time passed, human ancestors continued spreading beyond Africa. One important species, known as Homo erectus, traveled across large portions of Africa, Asia, and Europe. For the first time, humans were becoming explorers. Generation after generation, they moved into unfamiliar territories. They crossed rivers, climbed mountains, and adapted to new environments. The story of humanity was no longer confined to one region. It was becoming a global journey. Over hundreds of thousands of years, multiple human species existed at the same time. Some disappeared, others evolved. Eventually, one species emerged that would change the planet forever: Homo sapiens, modern humans. These humans looked much more like us. They had larger brains, more advanced tools, and increasingly sophisticated forms of communication. Language became one of humanity's greatest superpowers. For the first time, complex ideas could be shared efficiently. Knowledge no longer had to die with the individual who discovered it. Parents could teach children. Teachers could teach students. Entire communities could build upon the knowledge of previous generations. Human progress began accelerating. As Homo sapiens spread across the world, they entered deserts, forests, mountains, and frozen landscapes. Some crossed vast grasslands. Others adapted to icy environments. Humans learned to survive almost everywhere. This adaptability became one of our greatest strengths. For most of human history, people lived as hunters and gatherers. They followed animals. They collected plants. They moved from place to place in search of resources. This lifestyle lasted for tens of thousands of years. Then another revolution occurred. Humans learned farming. Instead of constantly moving, people began growing crops and raising animals. For the first time, large numbers of people could settle permanently in one location. Villages appeared. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. As populations increased, societies became more complex. People developed specialized jobs. Some became farmers. Some became builders. Some became traders. Some became leaders. Civilizations emerged. Humans built roads, created governments, developed laws, and established trade networks connecting distant regions. Then came another revolutionary invention: writing. Writing allowed information to be recorded and preserved. Knowledge could now survive long after the original thinker was gone. Stories, discoveries, laws, and scientific observations could be passed down through generations. Human learning accelerated once again. Over time, technology continued advancing. People invented better tools. They built ships capable of crossing oceans. They developed mathematics, engineering, and science. Eventually, the Industrial Revolution transformed society. Machines began performing work that once required human labor. Production increased dramatically. Transportation improved. Cities expanded rapidly. Then electricity changed daily life. Homes became brighter. Communication became faster. Technology became more powerful. Soon afterward came computers, machines capable of processing information at incredible speeds. Then came the internet. For the first time in history, billions of people could communicate instantly across the planet. Today, humans can send messages around the world in seconds. We can explore distant planets with robotic spacecraft. We can study the deepest parts of the ocean. We can sequence our own DNA. We can understand our origins in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. And yet, despite all of our technology, every person alive today remains connected to that ancient story. The story that began millions of years ago with a small group of ape-like ancestors in Africa. Every city, every invention, every language, every culture, every human achievement, all of it traces back to that long journey through time. From stone tools to smartphones, from campfires to computers, from small tribes to global civilizations, human evolution is one of the greatest stories ever told. And the most incredible part is this: it is not just the story of humanity, it is the story of you.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share and comment. See you soon.